Hey everybody, really just a quick message before this video. I'm really excited about this video. It's a fun topic for me, but I do want to promote my other shows just really quick as episode 200 of Constructive Criticism is coming up. It makes me think like I don't do enough to promote the non-constructive criticism shows. Constructive Criticism is about to hit episode 200. It's a podcast about getting better at Magic the Gathering with a focus on constructive play. We talk about Legacy, we talk about Modern, we talk about Standard. We rotate through formats, and then we talk about something to hopefully help you get better at Magic the Gathering or life in general and think about it every week. But we also have some other shows on the network. Obviously this one, so if you're watching this, you've obviously know this exists, but also we have Limited Time Only, a limited podcast that I do with Silver Pro Danny Cathro, where we talk about Limited with the focus on getting better. We also focus a lot on Sealed in that podcast, which is something that you don't get a lot of right now in Magic the Gathering content. So every week we have a biggest Sealed mover, our inside of our color of the week that we do every week, where we talk about one of the colors in the format. We focus on Sealed in part of the segment. So we really try and do the things that help the average PPTQ grinder. Because we want to make content that would have helped us and that does help us today as we try and get on the Pro Tour and do things. I mean, with Danny qualified for the next two Pro Tours, he's pretty good at Magic, and I'm always trying to get better, and I haven't qualified for a Pro Tour in a couple of years, and I want to get back, and I want to make Magic content that helps me and pushes me to improve, and as well as something that helps others. And I think Limited Time Only does that. And then we also have Common Knowledge, a Popper podcast that's starting up again this Wednesday. They just got a new co-host. Kyle and Mason are going to crush it. You should check them out every week. They're going to be going live on Wednesdays. So you can check them out on their YouTube channel. But yeah, it's really cool to see the stuff that's coming out of constructive criticism. We also have a weekly finance article by Alex K. You can check it out on constructivecriticism.com. And he's starting his own Patreon. He wants to get into video content and podcasting and things like that. So just check out the other content that's available. With Constructive Criticism hitting up 200 episodes, I'm kind of in shock. I'm in awe. I'm so happy. But I also want to promote the other content that we're doing and show that, we're trying to do things that help others improve at Magic, that help them in their lives. And I hope that this content's enjoyable for you. I just wanted to kind of preface this video with all of the other things that we're doing and say thank you to everybody. So thanks everybody. Enjoy the video. Hello everybody and welcome to a video on the Constructive Criticism YouTube channel. I'm Spencer, host of Constructive Criticism and Limited Time Only, two podcasts about getting better at Magic the Gathering. This is Wednesday Night Warrior, my weekly video where I talk about whatever I want. We talk about decks, we talk about trends in the Magic metagame, we talk about upcoming topics, just whatever. And it's a fun video. I didn't do it last week. I was kind of taking a break from a little bit of my content. But man, I'm excited to be back, and I kind of want to talk to you guys about something that I'm dealing with personally right now, and something that I think that a lot of Magic players have a hard time dealing with, and that's dealing with a losing streak. So right now, since the GP that I did pretty well at, so I went to GP Denver, did well enough for a couple of pro points, good enough record for cashing, although my tiebreakers weren't quite good enough. It was a really good time, and I did really well, and I was really proud of myself for a lot of the way that I played. I got a little lucky. It was a really fun event. Since then, played some local events, played a Magic Online RPTQ, did some streaming. I'm in a bit of a rut. I cannot buy a win. I won two of my last, I want to say two of my last 12, 13, 15 matches. It's not a good look, and it's been really tough. It makes Magic a lot less fun. And I think that a lot of players have these kind of moments where they just start losing, and they have a hard time figuring out, why am I losing? Like, what am I doing wrong? And I think that that's kind of the first step. So that's the first thing I want to talk about is when you are in a moment like this where you aren't winning as much as you usually do, where your win percentage is just plummeting, what's wrong? Like, how can you figure out what's going on? How can you sit back, remove yourself from the situation, and say, what am I doing differently than I usually do? That's a good place to start, right? Figuring out, am I doing something that I wasn't doing before that's causing these losses is probably a good, solid foundation for finding out what's going on. So often, and I think the way that this happened is, I look at the way that the way I'm dealing with my losses right now. In my current week of Magic, where I'm not winning a lot, I'm looking at like, what am I doing? How do I see this? And then I see on Twitter some more popular Magic players that are tweeting how unlucky they are, that they got super unlucky. And I think to myself, I see these popular Magic players tweeting about this a lot. A lot of their tweets from GPs and things like that are how unlucky they got and how their opponents were scumming them, or just really not positive message kind of tweets. And I think to myself, what is it that I'm doing that I can learn from what these guys are doing too? You know, I think that these players that are tweeting this isn't the right way to go about it. And I like to learn from others. So how am I doing? How can I be different and improve faster? And I think that self-evaluation is a huge part of that, even when it's hard. You know, the truth is that you can actually be unlucky. It's definitely possible to be unlucky. I would say that this all started with me getting really unlucky at the RPTQ. I had to mulligan a lot, but in that time of mulliganing, I talked about my mulligan decisions, and I think one of them was wrong, and I could have kept the hand. And that is more important to me than the narrative of how many times I mulliganed, is that I actually probably made an incorrect decision on one of the mulligans, causing me to mulligan more. So the separation here between the narrative of I'm super unlucky and I made a mulligan mistake where I shouldn't have mulliganed, those are very different stories, and I'm telling myself one of them versus the other can completely change my outlook on both the event and my future events. I do think that you can get unlucky. I just don't think it's as likely as you could have done something to fix it. Like, the idea that you did everything perfectly and got unlucky in a game like Magic is pretty unlikely, because the game is really hard. I like to take a look at, like, Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa and his rough year of Magic he had a few years back before he came on our podcast. He was talking about how, he was complaining a lot about Magic. He wasn't having fun. He wouldn't have hit silver that year, I believe he said. And right after that, he goes back to Top 8 of Pro Tour, and gets right back on the train. And when he came on our podcast, he talked about how during that year, losing a lot caused him to lose more. And it wasn't that his preparation was different. It wasn't that that he got worse at Magic. The problem is that he put himself in situations to lose because he thought he was going to get unlucky. And because of that, he would do different things. He played decks that he wouldn't typically play. He'd take a line because he thought he was going to get unlucky. And this narrative that he had put in his head caused him to have a snowball effect of a mindset that wasn't good for winning at Magic. And when you watch these players who are well respected in the Magic community spin these narratives around themselves that they're super unlucky and that's why they're not on the Pro Tour, I think that it's not true. I think that if they spun the narrative the other way as to how they could improve, they'd get on the Pro Tour more easily and more often. And I think that we as Magic players, when we're in a rut, like I'm in right now, it would be too easy for me to complain about how unlucky I was. Last night while I was streaming, I drew a bunch of lands in a few games that I lost. But I also made a lot of mistakes, a lot of misplays. And that part of the story is within my control and the thing that I should focus on rather than the how unlucky I am. So what do we learn from this, from PV's story of his snowball effect? We learn that your mindset is really important in this. That overall, your mindset is going to dictate your next match much more than the luck of the game. Because if you we've all heard the story of if you think you're going to lose, you're more likely to lose because you're putting yourself in that mindset already. And I think that story, that idea is true. And we need to rise above that and put ourselves in the best position to learn and take an active part in our game every time, even if we feel like we're getting unlucky. Last night, I mulliganed to 4 on stream and won, even after making a misplay. Because guess what? Just as likely as you are to get unlucky during a losing streak, you're just as likely to get lucky too. So you have to do everything you can to win those matches, even when you feel like you're getting unlucky. And that's the thing that we have to do to move forward, is realizing that in these moments where everything seems to be going wrong, that there are probably some things that are going a little too right too. And if you ignore those things and only focus on the negative, you're going to continue to feel the negative, right? You're almost searching it out. And you're going to find it because Magic is a game of variance. But there's going to be variance on both sides, and you have to realize that. The other thing to think about is if I'm focusing on how I'm playing rather than how unlucky I'm getting or how unlucky I'm feeling, I'm much more likely to find the correct line than, think about it this way. If you are thinking about your draw step and how unlucky you're going to be if you draw that land, there's two things that are happening. Either you draw the land, you feel super unlucky, or you don't draw the land, and now you have to think of the play that you should be making. You should just be thinking of the play the whole time. It doesn't actually matter what comes off the top of your deck. You should think about what your outs are, how you want to play, much more than trying to write a narrative as the game goes on for what the end of the game might look like and what you might tweet, right? It was actually funny. Paulo, the same person, going into the top 8, or going into the finals, one of his last matches of the last Pro Tour, he says, I was literally thinking of constructing the tweet in my head as I was mulliganing. And he went on to win the Pro Tour, that's definitely not the way to think about it, right? Instead of thinking about the match, he's thinking about the tweet he's going to construct about how unlucky he is and congratulating Sam. And that's just not the way you got to think about this. You got to move forward. You got to lift yourself up. You got to build on top of the things that you can learn and know. So that's it for this week. This is how I'm hoping to deal with my current losing streak. Tell me about times that you've dealt with a losing streak of your own in Magic the Gathering. Leave a comment, hit the like button. Don't forget to check out puremtgo.com where I post this content. I really appreciate them. It's really fun to do this video every week, and I enjoyed doing this one. So thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to check out patreon.com/ccmtg, and we'll see you guys on episode 200 of the podcast this week. If you've missed it, go listen to it. I cannot believe I've hit 200 episodes of constructive criticism. It's completely unreal to me, and I'm really excited about it. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you guys all next time.